1 week season.
Hello, friends, Inner Circle fam, and those joining from other places. Appreciate everyone tuning in today. We have got day 2 of my daily live streams talking playoff fantasy, playoff best ball, specific to Underdog. If you haven't already, check out my strategy video. It's down there in the description. It's about a 30-minute overview of playoff best ball, some high-level strategy and thoughts. But today, what I thought we would do, I'll field some questions, but just going to fire up a couple of drafts over on Underdog and just kind of talk through my strategies as the draft progresses. So it looks like we've got 5 of 6 filled. Looks like that final spot has filled for this draft. We are in the 4 hole, and I'll throw up the board there on the screen. For me, that makes it easier to follow. So, in general, ADP has continued to shift. And compared to last year, this year we have recently seen quarterbacks ADP rise to where you're seeing Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Jalen Hurts go 1, 2, 3, followed by some of the running backs between Barkley and Gibbs and Henry as the next picks. Generally, you see 5 out of the 6 quarterbacks go between Allen, Jackson, Hurts, Mahomes, and Jared Goff. Generally, you see those 5 go in the first 2 rounds. So we will see what this draft board does for us. Mad, so let me see if I can make that work better for you. How's that? Hopefully that makes you happy. So not unexpectedly, we see Josh Allen go with the first pick to Chris in Pro V, probably a golfer. Really respect that for those of you who know me. Jalen Hurts with the second, Lamar Jackson with the 3rd pick. So on the 4 hole here, I feel like you've got a couple different options. You could grab one of the running backs. You could go another quarterback. I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes here. Grab one of the quarterbacks. So Mahomes and the Chiefs have that first round bye. So just want to make sure that I'm cognizant of that. Want to make sure I'm taking that second quarterback at some point during this draft. Do appreciate those of you who have tuned in. I know we're a little early for playoff best ball season, although I've already done 200, 300 drafts at this point because I'm a little bit of an addict. So I guess at this point here, back to us. Several different ways we could go here. Could grab Amon-Ra St. Brown. Could grab Justin Jefferson. I'm going to go Amon-Ra St. Brown here. So again, right now, Detroit has that first round bye. Will be determined for sure next Sunday when the Lions visit Vikings there. And winner of that game will be the 1 seed. But, if Detroit wins, they are the 1 seed in the NFC. So again, here in this build, looks like early on through 2 rounds, this will likely be a build with 2 1 seeds between the Chiefs and the Lions here. So I'm going to have to ensure that I am cognizant to take only 5 players between those teams. Obviously, if Detroit doesn't get the bye, a lot more flexibility on this roster. So from here, I could either, a couple different options here. Could go Jameson Williams to grab another. I think I'm going to go Kelsey here. pair up with Mahomes. And is this view good for you guys? Put it in the comments here. Let me know if you'd rather see it like this with the board and next available guys. I could certainly do that as well. You guys just let me know what's better for viewing. So Xavier Worthy goes number 17. Puka Nacua goes 18th. So when it comes back to me in the fourth, the decision is, do I grab Jameson Williams here? Or do I start filling out? Obviously, I could go Sam Laporta. I could take another Chiefs player. I think on a build like this, I'm going to grab Jameson Williams here. And so now I've got Mahomes and Kelsey with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams. Four players here on likely to have a first round bye. So need to be conscious of that moving forward. Probably want to start filling out some of this roster with some non-first round bye players at this point. I will have to field a full roster between others. So I'm going to come down here. Instead of taking Sam Laporta, I'm going to grab Ladd McConkey here. Just start filling out this build a little bit with some non-bye week players. Mad So, thank you for joining today. Jerry Matt, appreciate you in the comments as always. On through 5 rounds here. I'll quickly show the board for those interested. I've gone Mahomes, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Kelsey, Jameson Williams, Ladd McConkey. At this point, probably grab Kareem Hunt here and be done with this, assuming this is a Detroit gets the bye build. So I will have 5 between Mahomes, Amon-Ra, and Jameson, with Kelsey and Kareem Hunt. So at this point here, I'm just filling out the roster. I'll need another quarterback, a running back, and at least another 2 wide, and at least another 1 more wide receiver. And the thought with this approach is I'm building for 2 1 seeds here in the final. It's a thin needle to thread because I will essentially be playing shorthanded in the first round with 5 players likely on bye. Again, if Detroit were to get that bye. So I'm going to continue to kind of build out my roster here. So first round right now, I would be playing Ladd McConkey and Bucky Irving. As you'll see this as to why this is a thin needle to thread. Teams that are not building around Kansas City or Detroit or even potentially Minnesota are going to likely have a lot more active players. So I will be fighting a little bit of an uphill battle. Two picks away, nowhere I will likely go if it gets back to me. Don't know if anyone in the stream is drafting with me. So generally, I try not to say out loud or queue up where I want to go. Mixon would have been a guy I considered. Brian Robinson. I'm going to grab J.K. Dobbins here. I've already got Ladd McConkey. So definitely a potential spot here where I will likely try to take Justin Herbert as my second quarterback on this team with McConkey and Dobbins. Kind of gives me a second 3-player stack there along with the Kansas City stack to build a potential Super Bowl team with Amon-Ra and Jameson. But let's see how the rest of the board shakes out. Definitely need to grab at least one more wide receiver and a quarterback. Likely that will be Jalen Hurts, but I'm not tied on that quarterback. So kind of the big discussion is where am I going to go with my final wide receiver spot. I'll probably save. Let's take a look at the Pink Lizards. Already got Jaden. I don't see why he would grab. All right. Let's go. Let's go Cortland Sutton here. And then we'll take either Justin Herbert. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. Herbert, Love, Baker, any of those guys are fine. I'm likely using them for only 1 week. Really prefer would prefer to take Herbert here. But we'll see how it shakes out for those of you who are curious. Here's the bottom of the board. Looks like I'm back on the clock. I will take Herbert, not to slow everybody else down. And let's take a peek at the full board. See if I can share that. See if I can share that screen for you, and we'll talk through the different builds here. So for me, I went with 2 bye week teams. So I've got Mahomes, Kelsey, and Kareem Hunt. Got to fill that running back spot with Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown. So again, trying to thread the thin needle here of 2 potential number 1 seeds in the Super Bowl. Filled out the roster with Justin Herbert, J.K. Dobbins, Ladd McConkey, and then 2 one-offs with Bucky Irving and Cortland Sutton. Not knowing kind of everyone's seating at this point, a little bit of up in the air. So let's take a look at some of the other teams. Here in the one hole, we see Chris Pro V went Allen, Jefferson, Jones. So he's got 2 quarterbacks between Allen and Darnold. He's got 2 running backs between Aaron Jones and Ty Johnson, who he took in the last round. And then he's got Jefferson, Addison, Cooper, Coleman, Reed, and Dobbs. So I like this build here. He is playing for a Buffalo, Minnesota Super Bowl. Basically grabbed 4 guys from each, and then grabbed 2 Packers there with Jaden Reed and Romeo Dobbs. So I do like that build out of the 1 hole. Here in the 2 spot, Hoagie went Hurts, Cook, Devonta Smith, Shakir, Pacheco, Goddard, Hollywood Brown, Dalton Kincaid, Gainwell, and Jalen Warren. So he's got looking like a Philly. He's got 4 Eagles, and then he's got 2 either 2 Kansas City players and 2 Buffalo players. So I like that as a build as well. What's interesting is I feel like I've done a bunch of these drafts on stream with folks, and most of the drafts we've done, we've seen at least 1 or 2 dead teams so far. And because I know mine is live, so far we've got at least 3 live teams. NF 42 here in the 3 hole went Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers. So starting off with a Baltimore stack, added to it with Rashad Bateman and Isaiah Likely. So really strong on Baltimore. He's got Kyron Williams and Cooper Kupp. So he could feel the Super Bowl between Baltimore and the Rams. Don't mind that. In the 5 hole here, we've got started off with Barkley and A.J. Brown. As you see, as you don't end up grabbing one of the 5 kind of more premier quarterbacks that go in the first, generally the first 2 rounds, or you don't grab Sam Darnold, building around potential in Minnesota stack, you really end up with a much thinner team. But he's got Barkley, Brown, Worthy, Andrews, McLaurin, Jaden Daniels, George Pickens, Brian Robinson, Russell Wilson, and Pat Freiermuth. So 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, and 6 wide receivers for Pink Lizard. Not really a great build here. I mean, he's his best chance for a Super Bowl is really Pittsburgh with Freiermuth, Pickens, and Russell Wilson against Barkley and A.J. Brown. So I guess viable, but unlikely. And then the 6 hole here went Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta. So he's got a Detroit stack. Brought it back on the other side with, I guess, Houston with Joe Mixon and Nico Collins. That appears to be his only viable Super Bowl. Yeah. Not in love with that. So the 6 hole here, Randy Moss cannot field a Super Bowl team. So, one out of the 6 rosters here is a dead build. So let's go ahead and fire up another draft here. If you guys have any questions, feel free to fire them here in the text. In the chat, I will do my best to answer. Let's come back over here to drafts, fire up an active draft. TMS said that 6 hole had Detroit versus KC. Let me pull that back up. I didn't see that, but I certainly could have missed it. So we'll come back over here. Completed. This was a mitten. And the last mitten. And we'll show the full draft for Randy Moss. So Randy has Goff, Gibbs, Laporta. Yeah, you're right. Hopkins and Noah Gray. A little thin, but you're right. Totally viable. TMS, thank you for pointing that out. Hard to draft and look through this all at the same time. But yes, you are correct. How many dead builds am I seeing on average? I've seen as many as 4. But on average, it's generally 1 to 2 per draft that I'm seeing that are not able to actually field the team in the Super Bowl. So good question there. All right, so we'll go to the draft here. Pop it up. Looks like I've drawn the 6 hole here. Completely new, folks. No one from our last draft here. Let's go. I prefer the board view. So again, we are in the 6 hole here. Let's see if I can get this better view for you guys. Going to be thin for the 1 versus 1 seeds. My brain starts to... Oh, sorry, TMS. Let me get your comment up there. Yeah, so I'm on the clock here. You're right. It is gonna be thin for those 1 seeds, no doubt. I'm gonna start here with St. Brown and Goff. So if you look back historically, TMS, a 1 seed makes the Super Bowl. At least one of the 1 seeds has been in the Super Bowl, I think 42% of the time. And it has been a matchup of 2 number 1 seeds a little over 20% of the time. So while it is thin and difficult to try to thread that really thin needle of building for 2 1 seeds, it is by far the most likely scenario for the Super Bowl. So we're going to give it a go here, potentially again with that approach, but we'll see. I always like to kind of see what the board presents to us. So I have started off Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Jared Goff. 1 seed has gone Allen, Cook, Devonta Smith, so potentially setting up Buffalo and Philadelphia. The 2 spot went Lamar, Jefferson, Aaron Jones. Likely going to try to grab Mark Andrews or something at the 23 spot would be my guess. 3-hole Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Josh Jacobs. So starting off with 3 NFC players. 4-hole Patrick Mahomes, Barkley, Jamison Williams. Interesting start for him there. 4-hole or 5-hole Derrick Henry, Jamar Gibbs, Nico Collins. So likely potentially to see him build out Houston with that start. So for me here, I could go a little off the board here. Let me see how many teams are building around this. Where is it? It's the 2-hole. All right, I'm going to go Zay Flowers here. Give myself opportunity at that. And I'm going to go Travis Kelce here. So give myself 2 potential ways to build this out, depending on how the board fills, to try to build a Super Bowl around Detroit and either Baltimore or Kansas City. Considered Sam Laporta there. Didn't opt up going that direction. Let me see. So X asked, did you check which teams to avoid pairing, aka those who meet in the wild card? So the seedings are still up in the air with week 18 to be played. And as I mentioned, it's a 50-50 between let's move on and see this question to see if it's Detroit who gets the bye or Minnesota that gets the bye. I have been building both scenarios. Generally, if I'm building around Minnesota, I really want to grab Justin Jefferson in those builds. And so I could have considered that route on this draft. If we have some time, maybe we'll do a third and we'll see how that goes. But kind of back to your previous question about meeting in the wild card. Part of the the pro of drafting a little earlier is you've got some uncertainty on some of the teams. Atlanta could still get into the NFC South. The Dolphins or the Bengals could also still sneak in there. So I'm on the clock again here. Let's see what the board is presenting to us here. I will probably consider Rashad Bateman here. And I am going to take David Montgomery here. So I'm kind of got myself here with Goff, Amon-Ra, and David Montgomery. And then I've got Flowers and Bateman here as an option. And I will probably try to grab another Chief at the next turn to give that as an option. And then fill out a little bit more, potentially grab another piece from those teams. But we will see. If I grab one more Chief, assuming that this is, again, Detroit getting the bye, I would need to stop at that point between Chiefs and Lions to ensure that I have enough guys to field a first-round team. BMAC asks, yo, Stat, just tuning in. Have you had a chance to draft on drafters yet? KC stacks feel terrible on drafters. So I have not done any drafts on drafters, despite the fact that I was doing a lot of our drafters regular season best ball content with Mike Johnson. Haven't had a chance to dive into that yet here yet this season. So comes back around to me. Probably grab Kareem Hunt again here. And then I need to make sure that I've got a running back in the first round. So I'm going to grab J.K. Dobbins. Yeah, so I've got, again, the Amon-Ra, Jared Goff, Montgomery from the NFC, and then got two options in the AFC between Baltimore with Flowers and Bateman, and then Kelsey and Kareem Hunt in the AFC. May add another Raven later. We'll see how that goes. Need a quarterback, and let me see here. Assuming that Detroit gets the bye, I would be missing St. Brown and Kelsey. So my first round, I would be having to take a score from Flowers and or Bateman. So I probably need another wide receiver that is not a Raven. And then I'm going to need another quarterback as well. So a couple options there on where we could go. Again, if Detroit doesn't end up getting the bye, this build is still totally viable. But if it is, if Detroit doesn't end up getting the bye, there will likely be some stronger teams. There will likely be some stronger Detroit teams in the, that make the final if they're not a bye week team. So kind of something to keep in mind is that I'm building this out as if Detroit is a bye team. So up next for me, taking a look here at some viable options. I will probably grab Romeo Doubs and Jordan Love. Get a little bit of some correlation there. And let's kind of show the full team. I hate the way this view. So I've gone Goff and Love at quarterback. This is really, again, built around Detroit, Kansas City in the Super Bowl with Kelsey and Hunt to go along with Montgomery and Amon-Ra St. Brown with Goff as the quarterback. The five that I'm going to try to thread the thin needle. So sounds like your process. Oh, sorry, let me come here. Sounds like your process is more focused on your own build versus trying to preoccupy your headspace with exactly everyone else's building. So generally not, Thad. It's just really difficult to live stream, talk through my process, and keep an eye on everyone else. Generally, when I am doing these off stream, I am much more focused on what the other teams are doing, who is more likely to be able to come back to me at different spots. So let's fire up one more. And we'll just we'll see how that draft goes. Probably try to avoid doing. Obviously, I don't like to come in with a complete. I don't want to say I don't like to come in with a plan because I kind of like to see how the board falls to me before I kind of make any decision on how that does. So let's add this to stage. We've got 5 of 6 filled, just waiting for one more. So I'll try to do a better job of kind of talking through the board for everyone else. I've got the 4 hole here. And so I'll try to comment on everyone else's teams as well while I'm doing this. It is a little bit more difficult sometimes to do that, but we'll certainly try to give you some insight into that. So what I was saying is I will try not to specifically build around, I try to come into a draft with, a little bit of idea of around ADP, but I try to let the board dictate where I go. I try not to just kind of come into it with a mindset of I'm going to build out Detroit, Kansas City in this, no matter what my draft position, no matter what the board dictates. So that's typically how I try to approach it, is just trying to be able to think on my feet as the draft shapes up. So appreciate the questions. Have had some good success in this format. This is my 4th year playing this format of playoff best ball. Won Underdog's flagship contest last season, and have had 3 or more teams in the final all 3 years that I've played the best ball, the playoff best ball content. So here on the 4 hole here, we've started out 3 quarterbacks again. Let's grab Justin Jefferson here and see where this shakes out for us. So we've got Barkley going, and the 5 hole. I would expect the Drunken Sports to grab some Detroit guys. He does, and then the question is, where does Pockets go? He takes Barkley. So from here, if I'm going to go NFC, which is I think probably, or AFC the best way, I will grab Derrick Henry here, and probably need to try to grab some Vikings. I obviously will want to try to grab Sam Darnold on this build. So we will see how the draft shakes out. Again, this is one where Minnesota could get the 1 seed, so I will want to be cognizant of that. But let's kind of take a look. So six hole is going Detroit, stacks there. 5 hole Barkley and Mahomes, likely going to try to build out an Eagles Chiefs. Back to me. On this board, I will probably go Aaron Jones. Building out for the Vikings. The 3 hole here next to me has got Lamar, Zay Flowers, and Mark Andrews. So trying to block my Baltimore pieces. Understandable. So I likely have to try to grab a Baltimore piece a little early here, potentially. It's not really one where I feel like I have to have that many pieces. So strong possibility I completely avoid that here. Addison is where I was going to go, but Pockets has grabbed that in front of me. Not really sure why. No real correlation there. He's not going to be able to grab anybody here. Let's see where we want to go here. I'm going to grab Josh Jacobs here. Just complete one-off off the board here. Just kind of set myself up for some more potential usable pieces with both Jefferson and Jones potentially seeing a buy. Jake Ross has gone 3 here in the 3 hole, has gone 3 Baltimore pieces, then grabs Montgomery. Interesting. Probably would have rather seen him grab Laporta there, with Montgomery more likely to fall. But maybe Laporta won't get taken by the 1 seed. I would expect the 1 spot here to take Laporta with Amon-Ra St. Brown. But let's kind of see what he decides to do. Yeah, kind of as expected there from Captain Wacky. He's got 3 Bills and Amon-Ra and Sam Laporta. So a strong build from him there. Two hole started out with 3 straight Eagles between Hurts, Brown, and Devonta Smith. Then with 2 Chiefs. So for me here, I'll probably go Rashad Bateman. Kind of build out. Why in the world would you take Sam Darnold there? You've already got Mahomes. Makes no sense. You've got 2 quarterbacks who could be first-round buys. Makes no sense. But so as you see, every draft there are teams that are likely not going to be able to build a Super Bowl team. So this is good for me to be able to think on my feet here, since the Pocket Aces here has decided that he wants to draft like a bozo. He's got 2 quarterbacks. They both could have a bye, and he may be forced to take a third quarterback, which is a very poor strategy. So with Josh Jacobs here, I'm going to grab Jaden Reed. Since all 3 of these quarterbacks, are locked into not having the first round bye, again, I would expect none of these to take a second quarterback, certainly not to come down the board to take Jordan Love. But again, part of the risk of doing the live streams is that people just like to be idiots occasionally. So don't know if anyone in the stream is in this draft with us. Hopefully it's not Pockets 8502. But if it is, good for him. He's potentially going to try to build a Mahomes, Kelsey, Hunt, Addison. I'd assume he'd probably try to grab Hawkinson with one of these 2, but really just poor draft capital to take 2 quarterbacks in the top 5 rounds. Going to be very thin for him to try to get through. So I probably won't push it here. I'll go grab Jordan Love, give myself this Green Bay stack here between Love, Reed, and Aaron Jones. I've got Henry and Rashad Bateman probably on the way back, just because I would expect Jake Ross to potentially not let any more Ravens fall to me. I'll probably go grab either Justice. I probably won't grab Justice Hill. I've already got 3 running backs. As expected, he takes TJ Hawkinson, so I'm going to grab Isaiah Likely here. So we've got a build of Love, Jacobs, and Jaden Reed. And then on the hopeful Super Bowl matchup against Baltimore with Derrick Henry, Rashad Bateman, Isaiah Likely. Probably grab one more Packer on this build. And then maybe just a one-off play to help me get out of the first round. If he's there, I could consider Justice Hill as well. That's certainly a possibility. Really lean into that build. Let's see what we've got here. Let's go ahead and take Justice Hill here. So what looking at all of the different drafts, what I don't love about the 6 hole, while he's got a good start here with Gibbs, Goff, Jameson Williams, and then he did go Worthy. So I guess he does have a first round running back in Brian Robinson, kind of thin, but I guess his Super Bowl is Amari Cooper, Dalton Kincaid. I would have liked to have seen him take another Kansas City Chief, probably instead of Tim Patrick would have been my preference there. So my pick here, I will take Romeo Doubs, kind of build out for that Green Bay, Baltimore Super Bowl. Pockets might be a kid. Laugh out loud. Well, he might. It's certainly possible. So let's see how Pockets did on his draft. He went Mahomes, Darnold. Again, two quarterbacks that could have a first round bye, but that's likely what he's setting up for a Super Bowl here. If it is, he would be playing one of those quarterbacks, Kareem Hunt, and then Kelsey Addison. Why does it do that? Kelsey Addison. So let me pull back up that draft board. We'll talk through it, and then we will let you go for the day today. Go to completed, Mitten. Full view draft. Got the board up. Oh, sorry, add to stage. So the one hole here, Captain Wacky. Let's do it the other way. Let's look. One hole here, Captain Wacky went Josh Allen, James Cook, Ty Johnson, Shakir, and Coleman. And Matt Collins. So really heavy on Buffalo. With Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta building for that Detroit-Buffalo Super Bowl. And then he's got George Pickens and Nico Collins as one-offs help him get out of the first round. Buffalo gets that first round bye. You've got Nico Collins and George Pickens as some help to get out because you're going to have to use one of both Josh Allen and a Buffalo running back score out of that first round. The next team, panic pick. He went Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert. So he's got 4 Eagles, and pairing that with Isaiah Likely, Hollywood Brown, DeAndre Hopkins. So building for a Kansas City, Philadelphia Super Bowl. I do like that. And I'm got some one-offs here with Joe Mixon, J.K. Dobbins at running back for a first-round running back, and Cortland Sutton with his last-round pick is just another wide receiver since he's going to be short Brown and Hopkins. So he's going to have to use one of his Eagles wide receiver scores, and then he's likely going to be leaning on Sutton for the next. So not a bad build there either. Jake Ross in the 3 hole went Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews. So he's got 3 Ravens. In the NFC, he's then went Bucky Irving, Mike Evans, Jalen McMillan. So he's got a possible Baltimore, Tampa Bay, or Baltimore Rams with Kyron, Puka, and Cup. So don't mind that. Probably a little thin between the Rams or the Bucks making the Super Bowl, but it's at least active. Pockets, again, we've talked about his team. And the final team, the Drunken Sportsman, he went Goff, Gibbs, Jameson Williams, and then has Cooper and Kincaid for a Buffalo Detroit Super Bowl. He's also got Tim Patrick. Probably would have preferred to, instead of Tim Patrick, I would have rather seen him. His thinking may have been, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, so to me, instead of Tim Patrick, I probably would have gone, Noah Gray, Justin Watson. I would have grabbed another Kansas City piece, given myself another option for a Detroit, Kansas City, or a Detroit kind of Buffalo Super Bowl. So honestly, the 3 drafts that you guys got to see on stream today were much stronger for our fellow drafters than usual. Typically, we have multiple drafts that are dead. But with that, I appreciate everyone joining in. Again, Happy New Year to everyone. Appreciate your support. I will be going live again tomorrow and every day between now and the 11th at 5 o'clock Eastern talking strategy, doing 2 or 3 live drafts, answering questions, and look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Thanks again for tuning in.
One week season.